All praises to the Most High, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Raha Kodash. Double honors to the elder apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, laboring in His truth in all sincerity. Revelation 18 and 23 in the NLT. The light of a lamp will never shine in you again. The happy voices of brides and grooms will never be heard in you again. For your merchants were the greatest in the world, and you deceived the nations with your sorceries.
Drastic discounts and really effective drugs. So far, I've never heard anything bad about them. I only hear good about them. But is there anything bad about them, Bobby? I don't know. I haven't heard anything bad. Someday maybe it'll come out, which will notify you immediately. But so far, I haven't heard that, including the drugs known as Zepbound and Wegovy, often called Ozempic. This is a triumph for American patients that will save lives and improve rest.
Okay, so that was a video just now of Trump in the Oval Office. Looks like he's surrounded by some executives from the company Ozempic. And he is promoting this particular product, and he turns to Robert F. Kennedy and he says, "So far, I haven't heard anything bad about this product. Have you, Robert? But if I do, I'll let you know immediately." So just a few short minutes after Trump made those particular comments there, this is what happened.
We've been advancing science and creating high-value jobs. But today are you okay? Gordon, you okay?
Press out. Press. We're going. Thank you, press. Press. Right, guys. Cameras. We're done rolling. Cameras.
Yeah.
Press out. Press. We're going. Thank you, press. Press. Right, guys. Cameras. We're done rolling. Cameras. Photographers.
So ironically, right before this, when this guy faints, you start watching Robert F. Kennedy, who Trump made the joke with just a few moments earlier that he's never heard anything bad about this. You see Robert F. Kennedy is the first one out of the camera shot. He immediately walks off the stage. And the timing of this is just too funny, the way this all plays out. So this is pretty much the second time now in the past couple of weeks, I should say, or the past few weeks, where something like this has happened. Where the first time a few weeks ago, we all remember the political commentator, Charlie Kirk. He made a comment. I think he was answering a particular question pertaining to gang violence. Of course, that individual said what he had to say regarding gang violence. And then, ironically, he got shot by one of his own, which the bullet hit him in the neck. And now we see it again, just a few weeks later. They're mentioning this particular product, Ozempic. Trump states that he's never heard anything bad about it. And just a couple of minutes later, one of the Ozempic guests or executives from this particular company, he faints right on camera. So let's read the article that's associated with this here. This is from The Hill. White House guest faints during Trump event in Oval Office. This was published by The Hill on November 6th of this year at approximately 1:06 p.m. An individual by Brett Samuels is the author of this particular article. A White House guest who was attending President Trump's announcement about lowering the cost of obesity drugs fainted in the Oval Office, causing the event to be cut short. I'll scroll down a little bit. David Ricks, CEO of Eli Lilly, was speaking when the guest, who was among Trump administration officials and healthcare executives standing behind the Resolute desk where Trump was seated, fell and needed assistance from others to be lowered to the floor. "You okay?" Ricks asked, as Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services Administrator Mehmet Oz and others provided assistance. Other attendees helped lay the man down on the ground and elevate his feet as reporters were being taken out of the room. Trump, who had been seated behind the Resolute desk, stood up to watch over the guests before cameras cut out. Let's go to Psalm chapter 37, verses 12 and 13. "The wicked plotteth against the just, and gnasheth upon him with his teeth. Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, shall laugh at him, for he seeth that his day is coming." Right, so we see exactly how the Most High is moving here. Just like I mentioned the example I gave what happened a couple of weeks ago, where the individual was talking about gang violence in a predominantly white state on a predominantly white campus, and one of his own kind took him out with a shot to the neck. And now we see here, they're in the White House talking about how great this particular product is. They've never heard anything bad about it, only for one of the executives to pass out just a few short minutes later. Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai shall laugh at him, for he seeth that his day is coming. Let's read that in the NLT. "But Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai just laughs, for he sees their day of judgment coming." So let's go back here to Revelation 18 and 23 to see what this thing is all about regarding this Ozempic. And I'll start from midway through that particular verse of verse 23. "For thy merchants were the great men of the earth, for by their sorceries were all nations deceived." So let's take a look at this Ozempic, what they were actually promoting at the White House Oval Office press briefing on that particular day when this happened on November 6th. Ozempic is the brand name for a prescription medication with the active ingredient semaglutide, which is FDA approved for managing type 2 diabetes in adults. It is also approved to lower the risk of major cardiovascular events like stroke or heart attack in adults with type 2 diabetes and heart disease. How it works. Ozempic belongs to a class of drugs called glucagon-like peptide, GLP-1 receptor agonists. It works by mimicking the natural GLP hormone, releasing it in the gut after eating, prompting the pancreas to produce more insulin when blood sugar is high, reducing the amount of sugar the liver produces, slowing down gastric emptying or digestion, which helps you feel fuller for longer and reduces appetite, often leading to weight loss. Ozempic and weight loss. While Ozempic often leads to weight loss as a side effect, it is not FDA approved for weight loss alone. So once again, I'll go back to Revelation 18 and 23 and start from where I started previously. "For thy merchants were the great men of the earth, for by their sorceries were all nations deceived." So we know that Ozempic, even though it's FDA approved for type 2 diabetes, it's often promoted as a weight loss pill or weight loss drug. And this is part of how these nations are deceived with this stuff. These are sorceries. And let's look that word up there, sorceries here. And we see the Greek for sorceries is pharmakia, where we get the word Pharma for short, or pharmaceutical, or pharmaceuticals for plural. And these are the sorceries. If we take a look at Isaiah 47 and 12, Isaiah 47 and 12 states, Stand now with thine enchantments, and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth, if so be thou shalt be able to profit, if so be thou mayest prevail. And this is essentially the Most High making a mockery. He's using sarcasm here in regards to these people who indulge in or engage in witchcraft and sorceries and these types of enchantments. Now let's read that in the NLT. Now use your magical charms. Use the spells you have worked at all these years. Maybe they will do you some good. Maybe they can make someone afraid of you. And so we're seeing now that in terms of these scriptures here and how these pharmaceutical companies actually work, they never actually come up with a cure for anything. It's just all part of that mind control, actually, to get you to believe that what they're prescribing you is actually curing you, but really it may just temporarily, cause a little numbness of the pain. But eventually you have to keep on with that particular drug in order to, you know, uh, stop whatever pain, or at least temporarily cease the pain that you're experiencing. And so it's the same thing with this Ozempic particular drug here. Let's go back to Ozempic. It doesn't actually cure, it doesn't actually stop you from, it's only weight loss is a side effect of using Ozempic. It's not actually made for that particular purpose. But we have people all over the world now is using this particular drug for weight loss purposes. So I came across a couple of things regarding this Ozempic. And these are some of the this is what's known as Ozempic face. And these are before and after pictures. So you see this is the same lady here on the top here, on the left hand side of the screen versus the right hand side. And you can see, just like, this is witchcraft. This is it. It's something that they said was actually FDA approved to help fight diabetes. Type 2 diabetes is actually being used as a leisure drug for weight loss and to basically change your entire appearance. And this, like I said, this is witchcraft. This is sorcery here. You can see the before and after shots of some of these people on the screen. You can see here at the bottom of her neck, where her neck meets her chin. Kind of looks like a hen or a chicken or a rooster there. But on the right hand side, you don't necessarily see that anymore. So these things here, you have to be really careful nowadays, because people that you meet don't actually look the way they really supposed to look now. This is this environment that we're living in here, where nobody is content anymore with their appearance. Everyone wants to look and feel younger or more attractive. So they do these things. They engage in these type of witchcrafts. They engage in these type of sorceries for this stuff to happen here, for them to get the desired results of what it is that they're trying to achieve. And these pharmaceutical companies are making billions by not actually curing anything, but giving the illusion that they can make you look younger. They can make you feel younger. We can't cure your disease. Maybe we have the capabilities of doing that, but our intention is not to cure your disease or to cure your sickness, because we need you to keep spending money with us. This is how they continue to make billions and billions of dollars here. So we'll go back to that particular video, and we saw that Dr. Oz was on hand there, and he was one of the first people to actually assist this particular individual who fainted. So let's look at Dr. Oz here for a second, who was on site. He personally received the COVID-19 vaccine in January of 2021. He hosted segments on his show to provide information on the vaccine's safety and effectiveness based on CDC guidance at the time. He supported the use of C-19 booster shots, emphasizing the increased protection against infection and severe complications. Public health experts have criticized him for also promoting treatments not supported by clinical evidence, such as hydroxychloroquine or chloroquine, and for having a platform to individuals who spread misinformation about vaccines in general. In his particular role as a political nominee for health-related posts in the Trump administration as of late 2024, his positions are part of a broader political conversation where the administration is signaling a potential shift in public health approaches, but his past advocacy of C-19 vaccine itself is part of his record. Absolutely. And so let's go back here for a second and look at more of these how pharmaceutical companies use these particular type of imagery. This here it looks like a staff of some sort, or a wand, a winged staff at that, with two snakes circling around it. And so we can see exactly the type of sorceries that are involved with these particular pharmaceutical companies. So the two snake medical symbol is the caduceus, the staff of the Greek god Hermes, and represents commerce, negotiation, and trade, not medicine. It features two snakes winding around a winged staff and is often mistakenly used as a medical symbol, particularly in the United States, due to a 19th century misunderstanding and adoption by the U.S. Army Medical Corps. In 1902, the correct symbol for medicine is the single snake rod of Asclepius. So this is just straight up deception here. And this is exactly what they do. This is that level of deception where no matter how many times people bring this type of stuff out to alert people that this is the level of deception that these devils engage in, people still spend their money with these devils because they feel that they're being helped. They actually know they're not being helped, but they just want to temporarily relieve the pain, so to speak. And this is what these guys like these executives that were with Ozempic and Dr. Oz, this is what they represent. You clearly see Dr. Oz had a pro-vaccine stance, even got the vaccine himself. And so let's go to Revelation 9:21. Neither repented they of their murders, nor of their sorceries, nor of their fornications, nor of their thefts. And they did not repent of their murders, or their witchcraft, or their sexual immorality, or their thefts. So you see, these people are completely unrepentant in what they do. And just like it states here, the two snake medical symbol is the staff of the Greek god Hermes and represents commerce, negotiation, and trade, not medicine, even though that is their logo. So these pharmacists and advocates of these particular pharmaceutical companies, also known as Big Pharma, they are sorcerers. They're witches. This is their witchcraft. This is what they're engaged in. And when we think of sorcerers, we tend to think of, movies like Lord of the Rings with Gandalf and, cartoon characters where you see like these wizards and they all wearing like these pointy hats and, they have a magical wand and stuff like that. And that is part of their sorcery to make it seem like this type of stuff doesn't exist anymore. Or it might only exist in like the most remote regions of the world where you may actually see someone who actually looks like that. But no, these pharmaceutical companies, these guys wearing these three-piece suits with the the shirt, that these are your modern day sorcerers now. They just dress different. It's just presented in a more modern like way, but they nonetheless they are still sorcerers here. So we understand that the Most High has actually given us the medicines of the earth. You know, and this is why it is important to research these types of things, in terms of seeded fruit, actually eating. These things provide health benefits. And when you start looking at you know stuff like cucumbers, tomatoes, those types of those are actually fruits because they bear seeds. Even though sometimes they are mistaken for vegetables, those are actually fruits. The fruits have seeds in them. These are the types of things we're supposed to be eating, or these are the types of things we're supposed to actually be cutting and adding to our water to make that water more alkaline. And this is what we're supposed to be doing. But instead, we go to these doctors who work with these scientists, and they go into these laboratories and they conjure up different potions. Basically, that's essentially what they're doing. If you remember those commercials from the 80s, if you're old enough, or if you go to YouTube and just type in the search block, take two of these and call me in the morning, you see all of these commercials back from the 80s where they were promoting this type of witchcraft. They would actually say in the commercial, take two of these and call me in the morning, and then they'll put two pills in your face. you know or what you're even seeing now is like stem cell, a lot of stem cell research. You'll have a professional athlete who goes out there and he tears his ACL or something. And part of the reason why these things are, these athletes are coming back now. I remember, watching basketball in the 80s. I remember watching it in the 90s. If you tore your ACL, you were basically out for a full year. Now you have guys coming back within 8 months, within 7 months now, because they're using these stem cells from aborted babies, and whatever they're doing, that particular stem cell, that DNA is now almost like magically allowing, it's magic. This is dark magic here. This is not, the health benefits of stem cell research. This is actual dark magic that they're using. Not to mention, you know, now the DNA that this aborted fetus has, which was the DNA of his own parents, his own two parents, now you're using that particular stem cell to cure whatever ailment, whatever physical ailment you have now. You're starting to take on that particular DNA as well. So, we got to be real careful on dealing with these doctors and these scientists here, because they're all engaged in this level of witchcraft and dark magic. So, with that being said, I'm gonna try to land back off of what I just said about, we're supposed to be using the medicines of the earth that the Most High gave us. The Most High Yahweh Bashem and Yahweh Shai has basically given us the fruits of the earth as our medicines. The plants of the earth, the vegetation of the earth is supposed to be our medicine. So I'm going to back that up here with Ecclesiasticus chapter 38 verses 1 through 4. Honor a physician with the honor due unto him for the uses which ye may have of him. For Yahweh Bashem and Yahweh Shai hath created him. Yes, the actual physicians who deal with what comes out of the earth. And that's, he's an expert on that. Those type of, herbologists, you may hear that term now, herbologist, or, people who deal with those levels of herbs. So for of the Most High Yahweh Bashem and Yahweh Shai cometh healing, and he shall receive honor of the king. The skill of the physician shall lift up his head, and in the sight of great men he shall be in admiration. Yahweh Bashem and Yahweh Shai hath created medicines out of the earth, and he that is wise will not abhor them. I pray this has been edifying and reaches the ears that it's supposed to reach. Shalom.